Good evening, namaste, dear friends. Let us begin our class today with a prayer. But before we begin with our prayer, let us take this moment to center ourselves, to leave away thoughts that are not needed in this moment. Feel your own breath. Take a long, deep breath in and a long, deep breath out. 2 more times at your own pace. Then gently gaze up at the spiritual eye. And let us pray together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved God, Bhagwan Krishna, Jesus Christ, Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashay, Swami Shri Yukteswar Ji, Beloved Gurudev Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, Saints and sages of all religions, great sages Ved Vyasa, Patanjali and Adi Shankaracharya, humbly we bow and touch thy feet. O invincible Lord, teach me to use my will unceasingly in the performance of good actions until the light of my will burns as the cosmic blaze of thine all-powerful will. Dear Lord, use me as thy channel for love and light. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let us invoke the presence of the Gurus. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Brahmanandam Parama Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Lakshayam Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Triguna-rahitam Sadgurum Tvam Namami. Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Let us sing a chant affirmation. I awake in thy light. I awake in thy love. I awake in thy joy. I awake in thy light. I awake in thy light. I am joyful. I am free. I awake in thy light. I awake thy light, I awake in thy light, I awake in thy light, I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy light, I awake in thy love, I awake in thy love, I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy love, I awake in thy love, I awake in thy love, I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy love, I awake in thy joy, I awake in thy joy, I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy joy, I awake in thy joy, I awake in thy joy, I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy joy, I awake in thy light, I awake in thy light, I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy light, I awake in thy love, I awake in thy love, I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy love, I awake in thy joy, I awake in thy joy, I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy joy. Let's just take a moment of silence and affirm within ourselves that we indeed are made of the light, love, and joy of God. Even though superficially we may not feel so sometimes, but this is the ultimate truth, that we are the substance of God, and God is pure light, pure love, and eternal bliss. And as God's children, whatever He has, we have too. Let us hear a few words on the virtue of humility. Swamiji says, humility is not self-deprecation. It is self-forgetfulness. It is knowing that God alone is the doer. It is the realization that nothing in this shadow world of appearances is all that important, except as it draws us closer to the Lord. Never tell yourself that you are sinful or weak or incompetent or lazy, except as such a statement may help you to surrender joyfully to God's power. Then live by that power. Never wear the mask of false humility. Humility is self-acceptance and self-honesty. You have a right to all power if you seek it in infinity, and if you never hold the thought that it resides in your little self. Let us do the following affirmation, first loudly, then softly, then in a whisper and mentally. I live by thy power, Lord. What I have is ever thine, ever thine. I live by thy power, Lord. What I have is ever thine, ever thine. I live by thy power, Lord. What I have is ever thine, ever thine. Mentally follow this prayer. Thou art the doer, Lord, not I. Express thy perfection through me as I strive ever eagerly to live in thy light. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So, dear friends, welcome again. And we read again and continue our study of the Yoga Sutras. The last class was very interesting because many things were brought to our clarity, and we'll just do a short revision of that. In the previous 1 to 2 classes, Patanjali explained the difference between Sabhikalpa and Nirvikalpa Samadhi, also known as the Sampragyat and Asampragyat Samadhi. And essentially, Samadhi is oneness with the divine. In the state of Sabhikalpa, there is still a difference between the meditator and the one being meditated on. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi, there is essential oneness and no difference remains. And then in the next sutras, he described how we can reach the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And the few characteristics he said in Sutra 20, he said the highest state can be attained through faith, that is Shraddha, strength of will, Virya, memory or mindfulness, that is Smriti, and concentration and discrimination. So in 20, he says we need these qualities if we want to reach Nirvikalpa Samadhi. In 21, he said that your practice needs to be one-pointed. If your practice is one-pointed, that is, it is keen, done with earnestness, then this attainment of Samadhi state will come to you easily. In Sutra 22, he continues and he puts the onus on us when he says that the intensity of practice varies with different devotees. It may be mild in some, it may be moderate in some, and maybe intense in some. So actually, since all the scientific steps are available to us as to how we need to reach Samadhi, it is up to us how deep our yearning is and how regular and sincere our practices are. And that will determine how fast we achieve the goal of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. In Sutra 23, he says that besides these qualities, there's another thing that can lead you to the state of Samadhi. And he says, through devotion and complete self-offering to God, this highest Samadhi can be attained. So here he addresses the people who follow the Bhakti Marg, who have the temperament of devotion. And he says, even that single-pointed love and devotion can lead you to the state of Samadhi. Then in 24, he continues, because in 23, he says that you have to have single-pointed devotion to God. So interestingly, in the next sutra, in 24, he explains what God is, and the next 2-3 sutras rather. So he says that Ishvara is the supreme self, who is unaffected by any affliction, by any karma or any action, by the consequences of those actions or any impressions of desire. So here he makes a distinction between a normal person living at the human level who is affected by karma, the desire for action, then the action itself, then the fruits of action and the impressions thereof. And then he says that God, Ishvara, is that who is beyond all of these kleshas are left behind and God stands separate from them. So it's kind of defining what God is. In 25, he said that in God, the seed of omniscience is fully developed. So again, he's further clarifying that God is an omniscient power, an omniscient presence. Then in Sutra 26, he says that he is unconditioned by time, that because God is unconditioned by time, he is the teacher of all teachers. So he is the Adi Guru. And that is why whenever anybody asked Master, so Master always said, I'm not the Guru, God is the Guru. And all true Gurus always point in the direction of God and do not claim their own greatness. So here again, so he said that God is beyond the kleshas, then he says God is omniscient, and then he says God is beyond time, and also he is the teacher of all teachers. In 27, the expression of Om comes in. So here Patanjali says that the expression of Ishvara is the sound of Om. So how the Om itself expresses Ishvara. So when we say Om, we are actually addressing God. It is the name of God, which is actually accepted by all religions. Some say Om, some say Amen, some say Amin. And in, I think, Zoroastrianism, they used to call it Ahura Mazda. And in Sikhism, they say Omkar. So it's actually, the sound of Om is the sound of the cosmic motor. The whole creation is like a cosmic machinery, and the sound that it makes, the vibration that happens, is the sound of Om itself, and therefore Om represents God himself. And it is, he will explain how tuning into Om can actually lead you to the state of samadhi, and how the way back to Ishvara is through the sound of Om. And Om, we should remember that we use as A-U-M instead of Om, which is commonly, pronounced. But A represents the creative principle, U represents the sustaining principle, and M represents the destroying principle. So that means Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha, all are represented within the Om. So when creation comes into being, so first it is created, that power is Om, is sustained by Om, and then it dissolves back into the absolute stillness. That too is the power of Om. And it is also said that when we chanting, what does it really mean to chant Om? In truth, the chanting, of course, through our mouth, yes, maybe silently also in our mind, yes, that is another level. But the true chanting of Om is tuning into the sound, is actually being able to hear the sound of Om. And to hear the sound of Om, there's a meditation technique, especially on the path of Kriya Yoga. We are taught a technique in which we train ourselves to tune into the sound of Om. And the subparts of the Om sound are present in the chakras. And we know that different chakras in the body. Now, chakras are basically energy points in our astral body. And they each have a very specific sound. And a meditating yogi who goes deep within himself can actually hear those sounds. And these are kind of subparts of the Om. And when the yogi can focus himself at the Agya chakra, the spiritual eye, there he can listen to the sound of Om. And the characteristic of that sound is like a thunder, or it's like the roaring ocean waves. And when you silence yourself, basically when you reduce the data that is coming inside of you through the senses, and you go into your inner stillness, that is when you can start hearing that sound of Om. It is not mystical, it is not mysterious, it is the truth. And all yogis can kind of, they can say with surety and with truth that it exists, and they can hear it. And it has many qualities which we will also read about. Is that, Swamiji said that if you live in Om, then you are safe. Why? Because Om is non-dual, and what the life we live is a life of duality. So whenever we are in conflict, the ups and downs of life, that when we enter within ourselves and we tune in into the universal sound of Om, then we are away from that duality, and therefore we can be away from conflict. Once we are away from conflict, we are in a safe zone. Okay, so now we start with the Sutra 28. And here Patanjali goes on with explaining the pranava. Om is called the pranava sound. And this sutra says that japa tadharth bhavanam, meaning the continuous repetition of pranava with the meditation on its meaning is the means to attain samadhi. So here, first he had given us so many attitudes, then he had said devotion to the Lord can lead you to samadhi. Now he's saying that meditation on Om can lead you to samadhi. So Swami, this is how Swamiji puts it. He says, to repeat it truly in deep meditation, that is to listen to the sound of Om and to become absorbed in it, that is, it reveals the true meaning of Om itself, and it takes you into samadhi. Okay, so, and to clarify it, Swamiji goes into detail. He says to repeat is the Om does not merely mean to repeat it with the voice or the lips, but to merge in the actual sound itself. one hears it first in the right ear, then in both ears, and then gradually throughout the body. So this, some devotees tend to ask, why in the right ear, not in the left ear? It is, some scientists have discovered that there is a psychophysiological point near the right ear, just above the right ear, which when stimulated can lead to, high states, just like people in acupuncture and in judo or sciences, the Chinese martial arts, they know that there are points near the carotid, in the neck, where if you stimulate those points, people can go into different states of subconscious, or maybe they can faint. And similarly, it is said there is a point near the right ear, which is psychophysiological, and stimulating that can actually take you into a different state. So in the Om technique, we are taught to do so, to hear it in the right ear, and then gradually throughout the body. As the devotee absorbs himself in that sound, he gradually realizes that his little body is only a little vibration of the great vibration of Om, expanding to infinity. So as you start to listen to that sound, you kind of start to rise above body consciousness. You start to feel that that presence, that sound within the body is continuous with the sound around the body. And therefore, the physical limitation of the bodily boundary is slowly dissolved. And all those who are present here today, who are Kriyabans or who are practicing Om technique, if you would like to share your experience with Om technique, or if you've had any experiences which took you to a different level with Om, if you want to share those right now, it'll be a nice place to, kind of affirm that how Om can help us to go into a deeper state. So anybody wants to share?
Om Guru to everyone.
Namaste, Joy. Yes, please go ahead.
See, I'll to start with for the last 3 months continuously 24/7, the Om vibration is there with me externally to start with. Like now also the Om jap is going on in the background. So to get the whole thing into this, the body, mind and soul, it has to come from the external and then get into the internal thing. This is what I'm trying, and that's helping me quite a lot. So now regarding the Om technique, is once when we start getting into the after our the other Hong Saw in spine, then when we get over to Om technique, actually Om technique though you can continue forever. So actually you don't feel like getting out of Om technique. So it's so soothing, and it gets your mind focused so swiftly. And sometimes in Hong Saw also you're not able to center yourself. Some thoughts are coming, but Om technique gets you quicker and one-pointed approach, and that actually helps quite a lot. And then you can switch on to our Kriya technique and all that. So that way I've been enjoying this. Om technique is a very important tool for us to speed up the growth. That's what I feel.
Thank you so much, Joy. And the very important point that you brought up is that you don't want to leave once you have the experience of Om. You don't want to go out of it. And it is the same sound that the holy word, which is called, which Jesus promised to his disciples, that after I am gone in the body, I will send you the comforter. And it was on the day of the Pentecost, that is approximately 40 days after he left the body, that the disciples of Jesus Christ experienced an amazing, uplifting spiritual sound. And they were able to speak in languages unknown to them before that. So they had that experience, and Jesus himself said that this is the comforter. And actually, once you get into that vibration, once you kind of just relax into it and you start enjoying it. And it's definitely, as we said earlier, that it's because from duality, it takes you towards non-dual state. So you go beyond conflict. So thanks.
One more thing I wanted to share.
Yes.
And I think I shared it before also. Again, I'll share it. The frequency of the nature, or nature which we have, is 432 hertz. So is the frequency of the Om vibration, 432 hertz, 432. Okay.
Yes, Joy. We've read that article. We won't go into too much
Yeah, we'll
detail
not
of
go.
that,
I'll
but
just, so that's how so important it is. That's what.
yeah, that definitely. So even though science is discovering these relativities now, but our ancient sages, our yogis have always known that we vibrate best at that frequency, and it would do us good to attune ourselves. Even just outward listening to the chanting of Om is good. Maybe you're doing your work, you're in your office, or maybe you're working at home. If in the background a gentle Om chant is being played, it is going to have positive vibrations throughout the household. It is very peaceful and calming. Okay, so anybody else wants to share about the Om technique, or maybe we can proceed? Okay, so I think let's move forward. So Swamiji continues about Om. He says, when the yogi enters oneness with that cosmic vibration, he enters what is called the Om Samadhi. He then perceives all manifested creation as consisting of the innumerable vibrations of the cosmic Om. The Om technique is one of the best ways to overcome ego consciousness. Why? Anybody wants to answer that question? Why would the Om technique be one of the best ways to overcome ego consciousness? And we know already that on the spiritual path, the worst enemy, in the sense, the obstacle, is the ego. So how will Om help us to override or transcend the ego? Anybody has any thought on that? Okay, so
hello, ma'am.
Yes, Ekta dear, yes.
Jai Guru. So by listening to the Om, we can actually feel that we are one to Om. And when we feel that we are one with Om, then our ego consciousness will automatically get dissolved.
Okay, yes, that's a way of putting it. So basically, when we are feeling our continuity with the universe around us, and we start to feel, start to realize that we are not this body-mind complex, this little limited body-mind complex, but we are that continuity which is present in the entire universe. And these are not just no experiences that are just written in books. These are actually experienced, and many yogis can give testimony to that. So yes, because you feel your oneness with the surrounding nature, you know that you are not the little self or the egoic self which thinks I am this personality, I am this little body, I was born here and I am this old, and so on. So it transcends all those limitations and it comes to the realization of what it truly is. Okay, so, and Swamiji explains that how it is possible. It says, because the best way to overcome ego consciousness is to expand one's consciousness beyond the confines of the body. This is accomplished by listening to and merging into the cosmic vibration of Om. Okay. Sutra 29. Tata pratyak chetana adhyama api antaraya abhinascha, meaning, by this, that is repetition and meditation on the pranava, samadhi is reached and obstacles are cleared. So Swamiji says, through meditation on the inner sound of Om, one gains the power to overcome all obstacles and to realize his oneness with the inner self. And to explain it further, Swamiji says that Paramahansa Yogananda ji would say that when you are in Om, that is when you are absorbed in the sound of Om, nothing can touch you. With practice, one can hear and merge with the Om sound, not only in meditation, but even in waking hours and during work. So this sutra is very important because there are many obstacles in our life, and we somehow want to, with our mind, we want to intellectually think how I'm going to overcome these obstacles. And many of them, those obstacles at a conscious level are not even surpassable. But when you are at the sound of Om, when you can merge with the sound of Om, you realize the dream state of this world. And once you realize the dream state of the world, you find that the need to overcome those obstacles automatically vanishes to an extent. At least it is mitigated to an extent. So yes, we will see what all obstacles the Om sound can help us to rise above. This whole universe is God's dream. The dream was made possible by the manifestation of the cosmic vibration. All things in creation are manifestation of Om. Okay, so here I'm just pausing in between, because when we say that this is God's dream, and so many people will raise their eyebrows, and because it appears to be real. Now, think about your own dreaming process. When you're sleeping and dreaming in that sleep, then you are a character in your dream, aren't you? So you are also, you become two in a sense. One, you become the character in the dream yourself, and one is the dreamer, means you're watching your own character. And also in your dream, you find other characters. And when you wake up, you realize that this was a dream, and this all was basically your own mind. All the characters, the colors, the emotional drama, the pain, there is pain in the dream, there is pleasure in the dream, all sorts of things happen in the dream. And yet, all those things that happen are basically nothing but the dreamer's consciousness, our own consciousness. And it's only when we wake up from the dream when we realize that, oh, it was a dream. Similarly, the variety that we see around us, the duality, the colors and the differentiations that we see are part of God's projection of light. This is God's consciousness. He is the dreamer. This is a show going on. He is the director, the producer. He is the actor. He is the audience. He is the screenplay writer. He is the lyricist. He is the enjoyer himself. So it helps to reaffirm this fact again. This is actually a show. Our problem lies that we get too close to the show. We get emotionally attached to the show. And therefore we find and we think that all comedies and tragedies are related only to me. That, oh my God, I'm such a poor little victim, and so much is happening around this. But the only thing we need to do is, as we meditate, how meditation helps is it withdraws your energy from the world into your own self. And that changes your reactive process. That changes your attachment to the world. Our attachment to the world is because our energy is always going from the brain down into the spine, through the efferent nerves out into the universe, then from the outward universe, through the sense organs, all the afferent nerves are bringing in data. They are stimulating our brain. And again, we are having some emotional reaction. Suppose we were to stop this afferent and efferent nerve transmission, then the data would not come in and you would be in a different state. So what a yogi does is a conscious withdrawal of his energy going outward, downward and outward. He withdraws that. He reduces the data coming in from the senses. He centers it within his own astral spine or the heart chakra or the Agya chakra. And from there, he is able to witness. So he becomes the witness, and he's able to actually realize that this is a drama to some extent, at least. As you keep meditating over the years, that witnessing increases, that non-attachment will start to develop, and your ability to watch your own life as a dream sequence or as a drama will increase. And unless we are able to do that, there is no end to the suffering of this world. So even Krishna has said, Sansara Mrityu Dukkha Sagara. Get away, Arjuna, from my ocean of suffering and misery. Buddha has said, Dukham Dukham Sarvam Dukham. So ये जब तक इस रियलिटी पे हम नहीं सोचेंगे, जब तक हमारी ये एक हिडन विश रहेगी, एक झूठी डिल्यूजरी विश रहेगी कि शायद इस दुनिया से हमें इटर्नल हैप्पीनेस मिल जाए, तब तक हम फंसे रहेंगे, क्योंकि हम एक टेम्पररी चीज से परमानेंट हैप्पीनेस की एक्सपेक्टेशन रख रहे हैं, एक चेंजिंग चीज से एक चेंजलेस हैप्पीनेस चाह रहे हैं. इसीलिए वी आर लुकिंग इन द रॉन्ग डायरेक्शन. वी आर नेवर गोइंग टू गेट इट. It's an illusion because it's a dream. Come to the reality. What is the reality? Reality is you yourself. You are the witness. You are the little dreamer in the large dream of God. So Master said, human life is a little dream in the big dream of God. So ये चीजें ऐसे ये कहना इंटेलेक्चुअली बहुत आसान है, और उसको पुटिंग ऑन द शेल्फ एंड काइंड ऑफ निगेटिंग इट कि नहीं इट अपीयर्स रियल टू मी, ये भी बहुत आसान है. लेकिन ये बात सत्य है, ये कई धर्मों में और युगों युगों में ये बात कही गई है, तो इसका कुछ तो सत्य रहा होगा. कृष्ण आके यदि कह रहे हैं ऐसा, या सभी संत कह रहे हैं ऐसा, तो इसमें कुछ तो सच्चाई होगी. अब वो सच्चाई हमने एक्सप्लोर करनी है, हमारी कितनी यर्निंग है सच जानने की, इस पर निर्भर करेगा. एंड पतंजलि इज ऑलरेडी स्टेटेड कि आपकी प्रैक्टिस माइल्ड है, मॉडरेट है या इंटेंस है, तो आप पर निर्भर करता है. उसी स्पीड से ही आप जान पाओगे कि इस दुनिया का सच क्या है और आपका अपना सच क्या है. And all the practices that he mentions here helps us to go into that state of truth. Okay, so coming back to Om. All things in creation are manifestations of Om. When you are in tune with that vibration, no matter what devastating event occur around you, you will be protected. When a person is absorbed in Om, the cosmic dream adapts to its needs. He may be beset by hoodlums. So Swamiji is giving an example. Suddenly they will be distracted or lose interest in him. So यदि आप इतने सेंटर्ड हैं अपने आप में और आप एक अजीब सी सिचुएशन में पहुंच जाते हैं जहां आसपास आपके बुरे लोग आ गए हैं, तो यदि आप उस समय आप पॉज करके अपने आप में सेंटर हो जाएंगे एंड यू विल फोकस ऑन योर ब्रीदिंग, यू विल फाइंड दैट देयर विल बी अ चेंज इन द सिचुएशन. आप अगर अपने ही इनर साउंड से, इफ यू हैव प्रैक्टिस्ड द ओम टेक्निक एंड यू गो विद इन एंड यू मे बी जस्ट ऑल्सो प्रे टू द लॉर्ड, यू विल फाइंड दैट द ड्रीम अराउंड यू कैन चेंज. The devotee may find himself in a storm at sea. The waves will not drown him. Now, this situation, we've read about the story when Yogananda ji was in his body, that Dr. Lewis was caught up in a storm in a boat. And basically, he just remembered, Dr. Lewis remembered that he needs to be focused on the sound of Om. And he interiorized himself. And he was safely brought to the harbor. And as soon as he came to the harbor and he went to his home, Master called him. Guruji was miles and miles, thousands of miles away, but he knew what was happening. So, and he called Dr. Lewis and he said, Doctor, you were near getting wet today, isn't it? And both of them smiled and laughed, and they knew what was happening. And this situation, I've shared with a few of you, but I think I can share with you today that a similar situation, not directly Om, but this happened with me also, that we were visiting in Sri Lanka, and there we went to a place called Mirza. And Mirza is famous for whale watching. So me and my children, basically, we thought, okay, my husband gets seasickness, so he did not go. So me and my children, we went on the boat to go for whale watching, and you have to go at least 2 hours into the sea before you can actually spot the whale. So from where you board the boat, you have to go 2 hours inside. And we boarded the boat, and the boat it's like a big kind of, you can say a 200 square yard house kind of size boat with 2-3 levels. And there were many foreigners on that. A few of them were Chinese, few of them were from Europe, and we 3 were from India. So we just, we started moving on the boat. And as the boat started to move, after about, let's say, half an hour, the sea got very, very heavy, rocky, you can say stormy, and people started to vomit. So people started to get seasick. And my own son also starts to get seasick. So I had already given him medicine, but still he started to get seasick. And as I looked around, as we moved on further, almost the entire boat, most passengers, you can say 90% were seasick, and they were puking. And it was so difficult to even stand in the boat. If the crew members wanted to help, they were distributing certain things, but even they would fall here and there because it was so difficult to stand even upright in the boat. And this happened for some time. And what could we do? We did not have enough medicine to help people. Of course, we needed to turn around and kind of move back, but we were still in the center of a stormy sea. And one thought that came to me was, it was one thing that I had read in the Bible. And when Peter wants to walk on the water, and Jesus, he starts to walk, but he loses his faith in between and he starts to drown. And then Jesus tells him, "Oh, ye of little faith." So this thought was coming into my mind. And I said to myself, Lord, I am not going to lose faith. Whatever may happen, I'm not going to lose faith. So I just started chanting. And not only in my mind, but I just focused on my spiritual eye. And I just started chanting. I started Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. And I started singing for 45 minutes nonstop. More than that, in fact, till we were ashore, I just sang. In 15 to 20 minutes after the chant, people started to fall asleep. Now, all those who were really, really vomiting badly, they were unable to handle themselves. They started to fall asleep. And in a time of 45 minutes, the whole boat, except for the crew and me, was singing. We were awake, and the rest of the entire boat fell asleep. And then we returned to shore safely. And then when the boat parked itself, the people started getting up. And some of them actually felt the power of the Lord's name, and they thanked for singing. He said, if you had not sung, the first few of them asked me, what were you singing? I told them I was praying to God, I was calling upon God, and in my own way. So I was explaining to them that, just like Christ, there is Krishna, and so on. And then some of them thanked that, it was because of that vibration that they could bring themselves to a point of calmness. So it's all about frequency, which is in resonance with you yourself. The name of the Lord is the truth of your own being. And when you call with love, when you call with your deepest yearning, gods already know, they know your need. So didn't God know that we were in trouble? He knew we were in trouble. And then he suggested a thought to me, that, oh, ye of little faith. So it was a question to me, do I have faith in this point in time or no? And I said, no, I'm going to have faith. And then with that love, with that, it was a dead end and there was nothing could be done. And with love, I just called upon the Lord and things changed. So these things can be proven. And these things just need to be experienced in yourself. And once you have such experiences, then there is no way that anybody in the world outwardly can say anything to you. But you know in the heart the truth of the situation. You know what the truth is. And then you follow the truth of your own heart. And you do not care what other people opine about you, about your path, about your guru, because there are all sorts of people who will say, oh my God, you are so devotional, आप तो बहुत भक्त हो गए हो और आप तो सारा टाइम गुरु सेवा में लगाते हो, और ऐसी बातें करने वाले बहुत सारे लोग मिलेंगे. लेकिन जब आपके अंदर ही आप स्वयं से ऐसी चीजें जो गुरु बता गए हैं वो आप एक्सपीरियंस करेंगे अपने अंदर, तो फिर कोई चाहे जो मर्जी बोले, आपको सच पता है अपने अंदर. And that embosses on your soul. And that is an inspiration which carries you forward on the path towards God. And God is ever present, always available. It is up to us to call to him. And then develop intuition through meditation to receive his response. Okay, so I think let's move on with the Yoga Sutras, because this story, it always brings goose pimples. It becomes alive whenever I think about it or narrate it. Anyways, in this sutra, Patanjali said that Om can actually help you to rise above obstacles. So what are the obstacles that are being talked about? In Sutra number 30, the various obstacles are named, and he says, Vyadhi, Stayan, Sanshaya, Pramad, Lasya, Virati, Bhranti, Darshana, Labdha, Bhumikva, Sthitwani, Chitta, Vikshepate, Taraya. Meaning, Vyadhi means disease, Sthana means dullness or inertia, Sanshaya is doubt, Pramad is negligence. Alasya is sloth. Antarati is overindulgence. Bhranti darshana is imaginary ideation. Alabdha is inability to obtain. Bhumikatva means ground, inability to obtain groundedness. Anavadhi tattva means instability. Chitta vikshepa means distractions. Now, vikshepa word reminds us of the vikshipta state of the mind, which we know is the distracted state of the mind. And antaraya is obstacles. So, Swamiji says, disease, dullness, doubt, carelessness, laziness, sensuality, false perception, missing the point, that is inability to reach your set milestone, instability and backsliding, these are the obstacles. So ये बात हमने अपने अंदर चेक करनी है, ये हमारी अपनी चेकलिस्ट है कि इसमें से कौन से ऑब्स्टिकल्स जो हैं वो हमारे को ज्यादा या कम परेशान करते हैं. So we will talk about each one of them individually. So Swamiji just says as a prelude that if we look at the obstacles together, we see that most of them are at a mental level. They are mental weaknesses. Of course, diseases at the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level, but most others are at the mental level. So if we're starting with disease. So Swamiji says if one has trouble breathing, then he cannot practice breathing exercises as well as he should. तो ये obstacle है. यदि आपके शरीर में कोई भी व्याधि है, कोई भी परेशानी है, तो आप उतना अच्छा मेडिटेट कैसे करोगे, आप सेंटर कैसे करोगे, आप अपने आप को स्टेबल कैसे करोगे. The pain of disease, the weakness that accompanies it, the discomfort it inflicts on the mind, all these distractions make meditation or even peace of mind very difficult to achieve. It is important, therefore, for the yogi to keep himself fit and healthy. However, many spiritual seekers devote altogether too much time on the health of their physical bodies. तो आपने अपने आसपास बहुत ऐसे लोग देखे होंगे जो इतने ज्यादा हेल्थ, इतनी फिजिकल हेल्थ से अटैच्ड हैं. They become kind of food fadists and so on. उनको सिर्फ शारीरिक स्वास्थ्य ही इम्पोर्टेंट लगता है. मेंटल हेल्थ के बारे में, इमोशनल हेल्थ के बारे में, स्पिरिचुअल हेल्थ के बारे में नहीं उनको इतना ध्यान है, लेकिन वो बॉडी की ही फिटनेस पे फोकस करते हैं. So Swamiji says the body comes last in importance, besides the importance of developing a right attitude and the need to keep the thought of God uppermost in the mind. So सबसे पहले actually uppermost होनी चाहिए हमारी spiritual health, which means the removal of ignorance of who we really are and attunement with God. Then comes the other levels of health, emotional, mental and physical, and body comes last. Body is a vehicle. Now remember here that हम body को ही be all end all of existence समझते हैं. Master said that the body should be thankful to you that you are living through it, that you are using the body. You are not the body. ये body alive है क्योंकि आप और आपकी प्राण शक्ति, आप as a soul along with the causal and astral body are living in this physical body, and you will leave this physical body. You are not this body. ये बात हम भूल जाते हैं और निरंतर भूल जाते हैं. इस बात को हमें अपने आप को रिमाइंड कराना है, और रिमाइंड कराने के लिए सिर्फ इंटेलेक्चुअल स्टडी नहीं चाहिए, हमें एक्चुअल मेडिटेशन प्रैक्टिस चाहिए, हमें ओम समाधि चाहिए. ये सब करना पड़ता है टू एक्चुअली रियलाइज दैट वी आर लिविंग through this body. We are the light that drives this body. Ultimately, this body is only 5 elements. It is going to get, merged in those 5 elements again. Also, illness and disease of all kinds may come to us as a means of helping us to burn up our past karma. So here we must remember there is an article on ananda.org if you find, if you want to have the time to read it. It's called The Virtue of Disease or The Virtue of Pain. So yes, when pain comes to us, it is teaching us a lesson. We need to do something else about it. We need to go to the root of suffering, and it helps us to burn our past karma. So there are many benefits of pain in this life, and maybe if you have time, you can go through that article. Those who seek God sincerely are often afflicted with such physical tests. We have known in the history of our sages, so many great ones had so many physical diseases, like Ramana Maharishi died of, he left his body was cancerous. Then again, Ramakrishna Paramahansa had cancer of the throat. Then Master talks of Saint Francis of Assisi, who had multiple disorders in the body. And so many other saints and many Sufi saints have suffered in the body, because it is said that they had take up the karma of disciples. Now think of how Jesus suffered in the body. He was literally, he was punished, and he was the sinless one. तो अगर हम जीसस की बात करते हैं, तो it is said that he was born without any karma. He did not have any past karma to pay for. तो फिर उनका जो सफरिंग उन्होंने सही उस जन्म में, वो किसके लिए थी? So it is, Master said, just like a rich father can help his children to pay their debts. अगर कोई बच्चा डेट में आ जाता है और वो वापस नहीं पे कर पाता है और उसके फादर पे कर सकते हैं, तो फादर हेल्प करते हैं ना. इसी तरह से जो गुरु होते हैं वो हमारे फादर मदर फ्रेंड होते हैं. और जो स्पिरिचुअल कर्मा, जो हम स्पिरिचुअल तो नहीं हूं बट अदर कर्मा होता है, once you're in the spiritual life, karma ceases to exist. But before that, whatever karma we have, and if we are unable to repay it back because it brings intense suffering, then the guru does take on that trouble for us. And if you read the stories of all the saints and sages, you read stories from Anand Mahima's life, you read from Swamiji's life, many incidences where somebody met with an accident, they just got a scratch, and at the same day, the same time, Swamiji or Guruji got a big trouble on that same spot. So all these things are true. It doesn't come to our intellectual notice because हमें condition किया गया है, हमारी study pattern ऐसा है कि हम इन चीजों को accept नहीं करते हैं easily. But if you go deep, the love of the Guru, the love of God, it helps us to repay our debts and become free. The Sufi saint Rabia said, "He is no true lover of God who does not forget his suffering in contemplation of the divine beloved." The next obstacle Swamiji talks about is dullness. It is primarily, if not entirely, mental and is a quality of tamas. What is one to do if he is truly dull? He has no desire to rise above his dullness. ऐसे बहुत सारे लोग हैं हमारे आसपास जो डल हैं और वो उसे निकलना भी नहीं चाहते. They are like pretty comfortable in that zone. The best thing for him is to work under someone who has more energy than he. On the other hand, temporary dullness at one time or another afflicts most people. So ये आपने देखा होगा कि although most of the times we may be enthusiastic, energetic, we may be putting out willpower, but then certain phases come when suddenly, we feel dull and the drive to move forward reduces. So in that case, Swamiji says it must be overcome by willpower. And willpower अगर आपने exert करनी है, तो आपको कहाँ focus करना है? The positive pole of the Agya Chakra is the center of will. So if you just take a moment to focus there deeply, you will find that your will is increasing. And if you add on the energization exercises to that, you will find that you're suddenly out of that dull mode and you're able to do what you intended to do. Exert your willpower to make an energetic push for at least a few minutes at a time until you find yourself climbing out of that mud pit. The next obstacle is doubt. Doubt is one of the worst obstacles. Sri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the doubter is the most miserable of mortals, and the second most miserable is the lazy one. So the doubter he cannot place his faith on anything. He wants to believe something is true, but he cannot. He always keeps doubting that there must be some flaw. Because he doubts himself, he doubts the world. So he is one of the most miserable of the lot. But let us remember that doubt can be either constructive or destructive. So constructive doubt is a positive means of ascertaining the truth, because कई बार आपको कुछ प्रश्न है तो asking queries, having a positive kind of doubt is a good way of moving towards enlightenment. But if you only have destructive doubt कि ये तो सब गलत है, ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता, आप गलत बोल रहे हो, आपको कुछ मालूम ही नहीं है, पता नहीं इसको आता है कि नहीं आता, यदि आप इस तरह के मोड में जाएंगे तो कुछ नया नहीं सीख सकेंगे. And that is basically the end of your spiritual life. Destructive doubt means to assume at the outset that a teaching is wrong. Such doubt is simply a bad habit, a mental tendency which prevents one from committing himself wholeheartedly to anything. The cure for such doubt is love. The love for God and the Guru can lift one up from the darkness of doubt. So, whenever in doubt, just offer your love to God. What else is there to do in life, anyways? Okay. The next obstacle is carelessness. Carelessness comes from not paying attention to what one is doing. This mental habit can be cured by finding a subject that particularly interests you and then pursuing it intensely for as long as it holds your interest. Then applying yourself in the same way to another subject, each time to only one subject at a time. So of course, we know most people present here in this class have enough focus in their life and have been successful in their careers and so on. So carelessness, just be aware and alert about when you're being sloppy about certain things and you're not doing them carefully. So just alert, bring yourself to alertness, focus, and do whatever you're doing, whatever little or big thing it may be, just do it with complete focus. The next obstacle that we are going to talk about today, I think this would be the last one for today's class, because we still have a few more obstacles. Okay, so this is laziness. Laziness is the inertia that impedes a person's attempts to progress. He wakes up in the morning and thinks, oh, let me lie here just a little longer before getting up to meditate. Or he thinks, it would be good to discipline myself, but let me just wait until tomorrow. To overcome this bad tendency, he must exert his will to try out. And even he can say this to himself aloud, I will begin this very moment. A little effort is all that it takes. Bit by bit, he will find himself climbing resolutely out of that otherwise ever widening pit. So again, what helps to overcome laziness is as you meditate, as you are on the path, you become more alert and awake about your own thought processes. Now, it is the character of Maya or delusion. It knows exactly how you can be trapped in what particular moment of time. So, यदि आपके मन में एक विचार आया है कि यार आज रहने देते हैं, so what Maya, आज meditate नहीं करते हैं, so what Maya will do, it knows you are in this low position, the other thoughts will start coming to you. You will start giving excuses to yourself. Oh, आज तो मेरी तबीयत थोड़ी ठीक नहीं लग रही है, आज मुझे और जरूरी काम करना है, and so on. So ऐसे और thoughts delusive आपके life में आने लगेंगे जो कि आपने नहीं originate करे, but आपका original potential था जिसमें आपने कहा कि ओ आज रहने देते हैं. So Maya will trap you more and more in that negative potential, and therefore all we need to do is be awake and alert in the moment and to watch your own thoughts. And then if you feel that some negative thoughts are starting to invade you, then you have to actively fight them out. Master said you have to actually punch them in the face sometimes. You have to actually close the door and you have to tell your mind, I'm not going to think these thoughts anymore, and I will do whatever it takes for me to get out of this phase of carelessness, of laziness, of mental sloth, and so on. So be alert, be awake, be ready in this moment. With that thought, my dear friends, let us share the beauty, the power, the wisdom of these teachings, and let us send healing light out into the world. Let us pray together. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, all minds, and all souls. Let's rub our hands together. Focus your energy in your hands, in your spiritual eye and heart, and send it out with 3 ohms. Oh. 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 Divine Mother. May thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.